They're going on me, they're going on me.
They're going miles, they're going on miles.
Okay.
We can fight, we can still fight, we can still fight.
Wander's coming, I'm coming.
Zion's on his way, Zion's on his way. Just kill Saint.
I'm coming from behind.
Right
We got him, we got him, we
hey,
got him. Push mid, push mid, push mid, push mid. Going cop, going cop, going cop. Got him, got him, got him, got him. Go mid, go mid, go mid, go mid, go mid, go mid. Boys running away, boys trying to distract. No, we're good, we're good. Good job, good job, good job. I'm pushing mid, I'm pushing mid, I'm pushing mid, I'm pushing mid. Get that wave going.
Welcome back to Week 5 of the NA LCS Summer Split. And before we get into our next match between TSM and Velocity, I'd like to welcome Team Coast Shifter to the desk. Congratulations on the win, and welcome to the desk.
Oh, thanks.
So, going into that game, were you guys at all uneasy about the lead you had? Because it was just kind of happening. Were you unsure, or were you guys completely sure about everything you were doing?
We were sure we were ahead, for sure, but we just didn't want to throw. Just playing a steady, slow game.
So what goes through your mind in Champion Select when you see the last-minute switch, Voidboy going to take over Kassadin?
We were definitely surprised. We thought it was just going to be Jack or Voidboy playing Lissandra top, because I've seen him play Lissandra a couple times in like Solikin stuff. But then I know Voidboy played Kassadin like back in like, I don't know, like Season 1, Season 2 or whatever. So I knew he'd be a pretty good Kassadin.
And did it add anything to the matchup because both of you guys had complete vision of each other's junglers in that top lane since they were up there for so long? How'd the matchup with Kassadin really play out?
Allowed me to shove on him for free because I know Nasus wouldn't be able to gank me at all. So I could just play however I wanted to in that matchup.
So coming out, Nintendo Dex's start, pretty sweet, coming out with the Dorans. What was the idea behind this? Was it for him or kind of something the team wanted to do in the beginning?
It's for him. He's been playing around with stuff. You know, we respect what he wants to play and what he wants to do, and obviously it worked out.
Right on.
And when you do have the Doran start on your jungler like that, do you guys have to change your style at all? Do you allow him to come to lanes more, or what really goes through the team's mentality?
It really didn't change anything. He jungled the same, he ganked the same. We really just played the exact same. It's just a different item start for him.
So you just saved money.
Yeah.
Up front, that's pretty good.
What were you guys thinking in the beginning of the game? Obviously, we were kind of saying, you know, the Dorans, we were kind of putting a lot into the Doran's Blade start. The Saint spent most of his time in the top lane. What kind of freedom did that give you guys in the early part of the game?
Well, we had to have Josh up there to help out the Vayne lane and Riven and stuff. And I don't know, it's just normal stuff, 1v1 bot.
Was it the idea to always, since it was double AP, to keep blue in your hands all the time, their blue?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to take control of all their buffs. We wanted to slowly suffocate them from all their resources and everything.
We've seen you use a bunch of different middle champions here. What really is your team leaning more towards against? Do you like the long-range poke ones, or are you looking more to be a playmaker?
I'm like the medium in our team. You know, I fill whatever we need, whether it's CC, Assassins, or roaming, whatever we need. I just play whatever. I could adapt to whatever playstyle we need.
Back in, I believe, the first promotion tournament, you brought out a little bit of Ziggs, a little bit more of a diverse champion pool. Will we see any more of that? Have you kind of focused on maining a few of the recent champions that people consider those top tiers?
I might go back to Ziggs one day when we decide to make a team comp around it.
Okay.
But for now, it seems like TF's a good thing to use right now.
So after defeating Curse here, what are your thoughts on you know, the recent development where we've had a lot of these older teams sort of falling to the bottom of the brackets, you know, and the rise of Cloud9 and Vulcan?
I think it was bound to happen. I think I don't know, we practice with each other every day. We scrim all the top teams. I think we're just catching up, and we're actually like we're all even right now.
Do you have any idea, you know, what it is about these previous top teams that's causing them to fall off?
I think the lesser teams from last split, they just figured out how to play the game more properly and correct. I don't know, last split it was just the lower team just throwing. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to end the game. And now that we know how to play the game, it's a really close split this season.
With that confidence coming in, what are the changes being made at the house, kind of between everybody during replay review? What are you guys doing differently?
Well, after scrims, we'll have our coach Elements. He'll tell us what we need to improve on, such, and then we'll use what he tells us and try to do that stuff in the next scrim.
And with your win today, you know, how are you predicting you guys to do in the future?
Hopefully we won a 3-0 this week. Obviously, everyone wants to do that. I think we're on the road to do it, and I think we definitely can.
All right, Shifter, quite a dominating game we just saw versus Curse. Congratulations to you guys in Coast. Best of luck in the rest of the summer split.
Thanks, Trev.
All right, everyone. Now it's time for our 5th match of the day, Team Solo Mid versus Velocity Esports. Team Solo Mid is coming off a devastating loss to Vulcan earlier today, where their Nexus was taken down in just 24 minutes.
Yeah, so they tried a team composition that we haven't seen before in the LCS, and they ran with a Xin Zhao and Annie bottom lane, or it was actually top lane. It was a duo. Plus, they had Reggie going back in time and pulling out his Zillion that he used to use quite often to enable them to get more snowballing early. You love that experience passive on Zillion. And while it was a North American LCS first, it led to TSM's 7th loss of the split. So those 7 losses in their match history of the spring split have already been matched. And we're only halfway through the summer, so that's not boding well.
It seems kind of crazy to think that we're halfway through, and everybody was kind of like, all these teams are changing. We're like, this is kind of the time they changed last year too, everyone. It's no change there. But now Team Solo Mid will try to get back up to speed against the Velocity team that they have already beaten twice this summer.
So back in week 2, Solo Mid dominated Velocity. They had control of the game, and they took down the Nexus in just 26 minutes. And even though TSM won their matchup last week as well, it was a very different game. They had NK Inc.'s Jungle Evelyn coming up huge in that early game. Very hard for TSM to keep track of him. And Velocity were ahead for most of the match. They took down first tower, first dragon, first Baron, and first inhibitor.
All of it.
They also had more kills than TSM, but Velocity let the game slip through their fingers. And today, we'll have to see if Velocity can take last week's moral victory in their loss to TSM and turn it around into an actual victory, or if TSM can make it 3 in a row against the LCS rookies.
And even though Velocity has gotten off to a slow start against Team Solo Mid so far this split, Chris and crew have a plan for how to beat Team Solo Mid for the first time this summer.
This week when we face TSM, we have to shut down Reginald because he's their strongest player. He makes their shot calls, and if we shut him down, he won't make any good calls, and it'll be easy.
Sounds like a plan, but shutting down Reginald is a lot easier said than done. So we're almost ready for Champ Select, so let's check out the lineups. On the blue side, it's Team Solo Mid. Reginald in that top lane making the calls. Jungling is the odd one. Mid is Dyrus. Wild Turtle at AD carry, and Xpecial right behind him. That's support.
And spawning on the red side, it's Velocity. Chris is up top. NK Inc. in the jungle. Echo is now at mid. Maple Street's on AD carry, and Evaniscus is supporting.
All right, so we got a lot of story points here, right? We got the Odd Bros back against each other, right? We have Echo in for Vile Rose, and we also have the Zen pickup for AD carry last time in the composition that TSM ran. So we have a few things to go over here before we get a champion select.
With the way that composition turned out for TSM earlier today, I doubt that they'll run it so early without having time to go patch up the problems, because they definitely they do like that composition, but there were a lot of problems, especially in the early game, for that they need some time to actually work out.
Absolutely. It's coming in as well. We know NK Inc., a big smiter, so if the game comes down to that, we'll have to see if we can outsmite the Odd One, but that's one we talked about as well, as the Odd Bros once again facing off against each other. Odd One coming in with Elise a lot this summer. I guess it is the summer. I was going to say this summer. This summer split, we've seen his brother coming out with a lot of Draven. A lot of Twitch was one of his sweet games. He came out with that Avarice Blade Twitch. So both of these guys really making an impact for their team in their respectful positions.
Yeah, it's nice to have family members in the LCS. Everybody's getting a part in it. They both really love this game, but they also both really feel the pressure. The Odd One is one of the most public-facing figures that League of Legends has to offer, and then his brother has had a tough time. When you start out very rough in the LCS, you get a lot of criticism.
Takes tough skin.
This is not an easy job. These guys, they definitely love the position, and they would love to be doing this, but it's very tough. This is not something that you should take lightly.
It's a high-intensity job. It's always ticking on you. Every day, every night, you got to practice, you got to play. And another thing we have to talk about as we go into Champion Select is Echo. They talked about a little bit before between Jat and Quick Shot, but Echo on the team here, he did play his Twisted Fate. We know he has a good Ahri that he played before with Marin, so we'll see if this, and as well, the shot calling that they don't have anymore, can be put into play by him.
I think that might be the biggest discrepancy between Vile Rose and Echo, because Vile Rose, we can hear him in the studio yelling out pretty much all of their calls. Vile Rose is the shot caller there for Velocity, and Echo is a very quiet player. When he was in here with Team Marin, he would talk pretty much the fewest until the very end of the game. If
he
they
was
were
loudest.
winning the game, then he'd start yelling and he'd come out.
Yep. So looking into the bands already, you can see them on your screen. Pretty orthodox coming in. We got the Nunus, the Jaces, the Evelyns, and the Draven. So NK Inc. definitely drawing a respect band on that Evelyn right off the bat.
Yeah, they don't want to have to deal with that one. Paying the pink ward tax there whenever the Evelyn's on the other team.
that was a lot of money they put
Trying
into that.
to keep track of her in the early game is just basically a mini game in of itself that you're adding on top of what you're already trying to deal with.
The Elise out as well. That was taken away from Chris. So Oddwin won't get that in the jungle either. Reginald to pick out, and his Karthus is left open. And it looks like he may be picking for himself. But we have seen Dyrus play it, so you can't say that just yet.
Talk about comfort picks, though. I mean, Reginald, he is definitely known for his Karthus play. Even way back in the Season 2, playing it against like CJ Frost and everything, he loves this champion. And he will take that one if it's up. Adds so much global pressure, plus allows him to stay in the middle and farm up and just amass those ridiculous CS numbers.
So Ken and Shen left open, both big picks for these guys coming in. NK Inc. usually liking to spice up the variety of his choices. So we'll see what he puts in there. We do have the Shen, but this Thresh coming in instead.
Those are very high priority picks. I mean, Chris definitely loves the Shen.
Yep.
He's taken that in the 2v1 situations quite often because Chris is the type of solo laner that loves to turn his solo 1v2 situation into a gank and get a kill. He's a very, he's very bloodthirsty as far as those solo laners go. And Shen is great at doing that because he can taunt your AD carry under the turret, unless it's something like Caitlyn with the ridiculous range that she starts out with. So it's a good adaptation here by TSM as well, seeing the Shen going with the longer range AD carry.
Giving Wild Turtle his Penta Caitlyn. He'll be very safe, and like you said from the beginning, comfort picks. It's what TSM has right now, so they have wheelhouse strategy right from the start. Maple Street locking in the Twitch, as we were talking about the Avarice Blade build just a second ago.
Yeah, very quickly there. I mean, crits are definitely a big part of Twitch's gameplay. People love to have multiple crits. When you pop your spray and pray, you have the option or the possibility of critting the entire team if they're lined up there. And people have even gone so far as to get that Sword of the Divine to get guaranteed crits and try and just put everything on that spray and pray.
You know, that was actually completely refreshed my memory of how much Nidalee was used last split. ManCloud, Echo, everybody coming in with Nidalee's first. Link was playing Nidalee, flashed it to us for a second, but he went with the Ahri pick. So, like we said before, he played that very well on Marn. The replay that everybody remembers is that full Marn kill at the bottom lane with an Ahri. So we'll see that coming in. Echo on his comfort champion, but
yeah, I think one of the reasons that the AP Nidalee mid has kind of fallen off is because she lacks a lot of playmaking ability early game.
Right.
She has no hard CC that she's bringing to that lane. There's not a lot of kill potential there. It's really an end game poking champion that they use to land spears onto high priority targets is always great, and you can zone people off of high priority objectives. But with the focus so much now on those early plays and the crowd control, she just does not bring that to the mid game.
Renekton getting a little bit of love here as well. It's been a while since we've seen Dyrus on that. We'll have to see how he goes into it. Usually not too much from him early game. Obviously, Renekton that meat shield, so we'll have to see TSM kind of draw this one out into the game in that mid to late.
Yeah, so after this very new composition that they used earlier in the day that they've been using in their rank 5 games.
Back to north.
They went way far back to old school TSM. They got the Bash brothers, Nasus and Renekton, comboed with Reggie's Karthus to add in onto any sort of the side lane ganks that happen. So this is a TSM going back to their roots after they got their new composition just stomped on.
I feel like Velocity is going to want to match this lane. So they match the duos so they can pressure mid a little bit more, not have to worry about the 2v1, and just jump this Karthus over and over again.
Yeah, so you talked about NK Inc.'s variety of jungle champions. Jungle Kha'Zix here is fun for solo queue, but we have not seen this in the LCS at all because his early jungle is actually pretty hard to get through, and Kha'Zix is a very snowball champion. You love to get items on him, so he wants a lot of farm. And this is NK going for a carry jungler, which we don't see in almost any other competitive teams. All the competitive teams are going with these utility, defensive, tanky-oriented junglers, whereas Velocity here, they want NK to shine, and they want to feed him farm. So it'll be very interesting if we see him actually taking a lot of, lane tax, as people like to call it in solo queue, getting that lane farm and getting the Kazakhs fed up.
It comps great with the team. If he doesn't get the kill, you got the perfect setup for a Twitch to just end squishies with his ultimate from the outside. So coming in very big composition here with the Kazakhs. Maple Street on Twitch as well. We'll have to see if Velocity Esports, again, can kind of throw something new into the mix. Now up against Team Solo Mid. They got a lot of their comfort picks, as we said before. Myself, Remington the third, and Kobe about to bring you the 5th match of the day as we are under the Rift.
And actually, it does take some of that extra pressure off of Maple Street, because if he can even just get people low enough with Spray and Pray and get everybody worried about their health bars, NK will take advantage of that isolation damage on Kazakhs and finish off people. That's what he's built to do, is jump around. So we'll have to see how he actually builds that Kazakhs from the jungle, and if he goes the same route that most of the competitive junglers are using now, which is just building tanky on everything, or if he builds this Kazakhs into a carry jungler and he can build it damage.
Looks like Darius's keyboard kind of just going crazy for a second. We're going to get that plugged back in and set up, as you see QC helping him out instantly as that goes down. So we see a first of the buys that are coming out here. The 6 inventory, or 6 for both. It's only 5 on one side, but the inventory is coming in. 6 for the supports. They do have those Explorer Awards. We'll just say it anyways, but no Doran start except for the AD carries. So nothing really strange off the bat. Cloth 5, though, coming in for Chris.
Yeah, those the Explorer Awards and biscuits, that's cheating for the supports. Fill up their entire inventories. But the Cloth 5 on Chris makes me think he's expecting to get 2 versus 1. So Velocity probably looking for that lane swap and looking for Chris to go with the 2 versus 1. It actually doubles really well against Renekton too, because Renekton, you know, it's all about that physical damage there from Dyrus. So if he does end up going solo with his Shen versus the Renekton, then he'll be in a pretty good situation to sustain through that lane, and he'll really just have to be worrying about the ganks because he's gone wardless.
Right. We'll have to see as they get onto the Rift. We're almost set and ready. Dyrus's keyboard, like I said, it was just giving him a few problems there. We got a ready on the screen from Evaniscus, the countdown behind us, and some League of Legends action to continue. Here, Game 5 now underway. Velocity Esports versus Team Solo Mid. It's been Team Solo Mid's win each time so far. Velocity looking to get some revenge.
Yeah, and TSM are looking to get another win because they have so much confidence versus Velocity from the first 2 wins. And so much, you know, they're kind of on a backward spiral here, especially with the loss today. They definitely want to get something back here, and that's kind of why they've reverted to their older team composition style, and they just want to take it back to that comfort zone.
Wards being placed out here for NK Inc. to stay safe in the bush. They are also guarding very much so for this blue side. They want to make sure that he can get that. Is it tough? If Kaz, obviously it's tough if a mana-reliant jungler misses his blue, but how does that go for Kazakhs?
That is a good point, actually, because Kazakhs definitely very mana-reliant. He wants to, of course you want to get both your buffs starting out, especially this 3.8 jungle, but he would definitely prefer to have his blue buff first, because even if he starts out with a red buff, it'll be a problem. Odd One does get hooked in, but there's no other members here for Velocity. It's a 3 versus 3, so they don't actually have the advantage in that engage.
It looked good, but he's used to being on a leash. Backing up, Maple Street taking a few lay wastes, and he is going to get himself out. Reginald quite aggressive here. His team really wasn't able to act on that. If he got jumped on, there would have been some flashes burned, but as we look down, it's only Reginald's exhaust, so it's not really going to mean too much aggression to either person in lane.
Yeah, having that down, not too big of a deal because he'll have the flash to get away from ganks, but I love the pink ward there from Velocity because of the vulnerability of Kazakhs early in the jungle. Like I said, you know, he's a little bit squishier, and he does have a little bit of a harder time in the jungle. So clearing that out and assuring him that he will get both of his buffs is huge. Jumping him to level 3 and securing the solo buffs here for NK.
Oh. Wild Turtle missing a few shots onto the golems in the bottom lane. He had to walk back and get a few. We'll see if that level 2 can really mean anything against Shen in the bottom lane. Chris should be able to stay safe as they approach. 2.5 minutes in, it doesn't look like there's anything but buff control. Like you said, both junglers haven't even grabbed that yet, but we'll have to see if they both continue to the bottom lane.
Yeah, NK ain't going to be very happy to grab up both of his. They did use the pink ward up top there for that one, so it means that the duo lane won't be able to clear out that Tribush ward for an easy gank from NK, but a definitely worthwhile trade for them. And they're especially happy with the early game, the way this early game has played out, because Chris did get his 2 versus 1 that he was looking for.
Waiting to see what opening either of these teams can find right now. NK Inc. does take those wolves, and we're going to see him obviously head towards that bottom lane. The 2v1 experience soak up to be done by both junglers now.
And they're not even going to look for the kill here. It's just NK Inc. going to show up straight in lane, exactly the same as the odd one is doing, because Chris did get poked very low. And Kha'Zix, he really needs to get that level 6 and get his evolution before he can look for his execution and his solo kills. Because now that he's been changed, the upgrade on his Q actually gives him 8% extra damage, 8% of the target's missing health in extra damage on his Q.
NK Inc. doing quite a good job at picking up CS as Nasus would with Spirit Fire in that lane, so they're keeping themselves quite leveled and quite fed with money that they require. No push really coming from Velocity, though. They're freezing this off the tower as much as possible.
Yeah, we always talk about how great of a wave clear that Spirit Fire is, but it's not that great of a last hitting tool. So he is, missing out on a couple of those last ones. But Darius is doing a good job of picking them up here. So the CS difference is kind of evened out by the 5 of Shen here versus the 13 of Darius landing the last hits.
We'll see what they continue to do in lane 13. Like you said, to 5 in there. See what they can do. As we still have help from NK Inc. in the bottom. Those buffs, unfortunately, only going for experience to the junglers and not really utilized for any of these ganks. This again leaves TSM and Echo, or yeah, TSM as Reginald rather, and Echo in mid lane to farm it up without any pressure for this whole time.
And Reginald's exhaust just came back up, so he didn't lose anything by having that summoner down very early. He's already got the timer reset on it. And as we know, Reggie does like to go aggressive. Now, if he ever does catch Echo out, then he'll have the exhaust tool at his disposal as well.
And we have to consider approaching 5 minutes in the game now. Those 2-minute wards are starting to disappear off the map. Mid is now no longer covered by any wards. Echo is still going aggressive there. Reginald may be helping him to set up for something, but no movement from the junglers just yet. 80 carries and supports still brute force on these turrets.
The 3-minute wards will last through there, though, and so they won't have too much of a problem. It looks like down bottom, though, it's going to be Chris fending for himself, while the odd one is still up in this top lane. So extra damage being put down here. You would usually expect the Caitlyn duo lane to get the early damage advantage on a turret anyway.
We'll see where they transfer to. It's going to be, again, NK Inc. heading down to the bottom lane. And just farm up, we'll see. But Reginald finally going back, getting more rewards, getting more sustain for lane. We'll see what his first item is as he comes back versus Echo. Bitting up the Chalice, just continuing. They know they're just going to fight in lane. He picks up magic resistance and the ability to keep going at it.
Yeah, everybody really stuck in that laning phase right now. So it's not a surprise to see people building for the lane phase right now. We haven't seen the increase in pace that we usually get for 2 versus 1 switches, because both this game and last game, junglers basically just being a second support and heading straight to the lanes after they get their 2 important jungle camps, which are the buffs.
Well, we have to consider what chances Team Solo Mid's going to take here. The calls are coming from Reginald. The calls last game in the picks from Reginald. So he's got to be sure his team comes through with momentum this game and confidence to win, because one after that is going to keep just pressuring them down and scratching away at them.
Exactly. We saw in the interview that Chris's and Velocity's plan for this game was to pressure Reggie. But because both junglers had gone the defensive route and they're staying in lanes, there's no extra pressure on Reggie. It's only coming from his heads-up battle with Echo, who's a sub for the team and doesn't have that communication. There goes Weltoro getting taunted.
Some big aggression there, and King puts himself on the backside. Here comes the Requiem from middle. They got to remember when that window is open. First blood goes to Reggie.
This is how TSM made so many plays back in the Season 2. Start off a gank in the side lane as soon as you do have Requiem available, and there it is again, underestimating the damage, and it looks like they're rewarded with not only the kill, but the first turret.
And he had actually just hit level 7, a minion after that kill, so the team had known that was up for quite a while. Velocity just chose to go aggro the wrong moment.
That's actually up to Echo to be notifying his team of and looking to stop. Because Ari is one of a very good, he's a good champion for stopping the Requiem chance, because he can use his Spirit Rush to get in position for that charm to stop it.
One after the other, harass coming from the top lane as Velocity trying to grab a few more back into their favor. Echo taking a good late waste there from Reginald, hitting all the Skittles that he needs. 8 minutes into this one. He still has enough mana to just kind of hang out in lane, sustain with his Chalice, but he's got to be careful. No, NK Inc. Oh yeah, evolves. I thought he was going back. He may actually come for Reggie in just a few here.
And he has evolved his leap first. He hasn't even gone for the Q, so he's not looking for the early assassination damage and the extra 8% missing health for the executes. He's looking for resets just with his basic kit here. So he's going to be able to continually jump around the team fights if they do get the kills.
A rotation coming in from Turtle and Xpecial here towards the mid lane. It seems like they are trying to catch Velocity off guard here and take out this mid turret, deny vision and map pressure.
Yeah, so usually we see the AD and support switching up to the top lanes there, but now they've made their rotation over to the mid, and that paired with Nasus is a huge, huge amount of damage to be put on the middle turret.
I would have said it was Karthus.
Karthus as well.
NK Inc, the turret goes down. Is Echo there close enough? It's going to be Chris coming in as well with Stand United. They try to pull this one out of the trickery box, but it looks like they may get put back in. Odd one goes down into that one as they throw it down. Wild Turtle's going to get hit up here. Trying to kite with the red buff. Another shot. NK Inc, the burn might be there, but he throws down a potion. Nice orb of deception from Echo. Got the double buff on him. He will have a good amount of damage to come out of this fight still. Foxfire onto both sides. Neither of these two champions can kill Echo by themselves, which is why they are on the run. Echo to chase Orb of Deception left over the wall, and it just misses. Xpecial, a straight line is the quickest way away from your opponent.
Good job there by Xpecial, escaping and not adding another death there to TSM's count. Because even though they got the turret, it was answered by Maple Street left up top alone.
He will start to back, deciding not to push that lane. All of TSM trying to regroup out of the base right now. And it looks like Velocity does have some work to do. So TSM has this time that they fought themselves. The lanes are pushed. They'll have to reset here. The ping finally going down. I was just going to say, somebody wants that dragon soon.
Well, since there's no bottom turret here for Velocity, they actually need to take advantage of this window that they have where Reggie has shown himself in the top lane split pushing if they want to make that move.
Right. Red buff going over to Turtle. Looks like they will start to organize towards that mid lane. It's going to be Reggie in the top. Requiem is up, so he can somewhat participate in the fight. It's also a lost fight. He's got damage on the top turret prepped for a later time, so looks like they're going to go for it.
He would be able to add his damage in at least, and it looks like that's what TSM is banking on. It's actually TSM looking for this fight because Echo's still in base. So all Velocity are basically out of position right here, and they're trying to burst down this dragon.
It's quite low. Maple Street on the outside. Throws in the flash. They're going to have some expunge damage on this. It goes to NK Inc. He's able to get it. The Smite Wars go to him once again. And it looks like they may try to activate someone to fight. A beautiful Lantern out on the Thresh Express. Dyrus taking quite a bit of damage with the ultimate is on. The flash forced from Chris as the taunt was just on the tail side. Maple Street should stay alive on the ace in the hole. Everybody backs out of this one. Great steal by NK Inc.
Yeah, and trading 1-for-1 is amazing. This is exactly what Velocity needed. Look at the gold lead. They're back to almost even right here. You saw NK Inc. instantly go down though, and that's because he's going with that carry build. He's not building tanky jungler here. He is looking to use that Kha'Zix assassination potential.
We can see Velocity also putting a lot of respect towards those wards. Pink wards coming in for NK Inc. The Ruby Sightstone already in for Evaniscus, and more wards just in the inventory to make sure it's not a snowball that they have, but to keep this game going as is and possibly grab an advantage soon.
They definitely do want to keep up that vision. Reggie, though, he did a great job shoving that top lane while he was left alone. Even though TSM did lose out on the dragon,
he's beating on that turret.
They got a lot of damage on the turret. It's still standing, though.
It's still prepped, and the good thing is it's not that bottom turret that you have to worry about Baron at some point in 9 minutes being a threat. So once they kind of tango for Baron, if they haven't gotten the turret, it's more gold for them. So it works out.
Meanwhile, his counterpart, Echo in that Ahri, is putting the focus on his auto attacks and has gone Sheen, which he's looking to build into that Lich Bane. It's very interesting, the Ahri builds, the flexible Ahri builds that have come out because of the, wow, her focus on the auto attack. So it is going to be a 2 versus 2, but we'll see that auto attack damage in action here.
They had a ping going down onto NK Inc. I think they saw him in the tri-bush or just saying Ahri is around this position. So they know it's at least, like you said, that 2v2 in the top, but they're spreading it thin everywhere here. They're trying to just do 2v2 power or friends with benefits. Take turrets, hold hands, do everything we can.
They didn't get much benefit out of that action up top, though, as both sets of friends end up recalling here. And you can see why. Because the goalie is so even right here, you can always tell how the game is going with where the wards are placed. Both teams basically drawing the line in that river right here and not feeling like they have the pressure needed to venture far into the jungle of their opponents. So this is actually pretty good for Velocity, who want NK Inc. To have the time to ramp up on his Kazakhs and turn his tier into the Muramana, where he actually starts getting some damage benefits from it.
So in the game of focusing Reginald, obviously they haven't really had the chance to due to the way the lanes were matched up. Does that come another point? Because now that Requiem's up, he's got Death Defile as his passive. It's almost unfocusable.
Yeah, they've kind of missed their window where they talked about wanting to put a lot of early pressure onto Reginald and force TSM into some bad calls. Now it's already at the mid-game point, and Reginald does get focused here as he's taunted under the turrets for a little extra damage.
Oh, a few good shots there. Maple Street making his way in. All in Viz status, but he's not going to be able to do much. But that pulls 4 out of the top lane. That ward has seen them. TSM has already put a few too many number in the top lane. So it looks like they go ahead. They're going to regroup on their buffs, which neither team has had real interest over controlling either buff of the teams, which we saw was a high priority last game. So just game to game, you can see what kind of affects a team's decision.
Yeah, well, if they've got the interest, they haven't had the wards to back it up. You
Right.
definitely very dangerous to go in there, especially if you're Velocity on a jungle Kazakhs. Invading is very, very sketchy because he can be bursted down very quickly if he does get caught in any type of CC. So really it's been both teams just trying to answer with the objectives and farm this up. And it looks like Velocity finally want to make use of that Shen, having him split push up in the top lane and make use of the available Stand United for any sort of action that does break out on the other side of the map.
Just to show not how far they are ahead, but how far they could be quite soon. Evaniscus with the Oracle already coming out around 14 minutes. Like we said, that Ruby Sightstone was finished at least 5 minutes ago, and it's a gold generation item coming in for special. So they're feeling a little bit of the hurt, that loss of Dragon that NK Inc. still is kind of flowing into that ward. It's going to start being the vision for Velocity.
That is a little bit painful, but look at the action going down here bottom. It'll be a lot more painful. Dyrus is looking to hunt this bug, and NK Inc. just simply hops away, making use of his evolved leap, which not only does it get to reset, but you know, it's a longer jump as well, and he actually is able to escape the wrath of Dyrus.
Didn't float in quiet enough. He was seen. Wasn't one with the river. So 16 minutes in, 3-3. Gold 22,000 to 21.5. So it's actually just a K apiece, K away, I should say. And it's going to be 3 turrets to 1. So Team Solo Mid trying to grab up that global map pressure, be able to figure out which one they want to take next. And right now, with that first line down, that opens up the buffs and gives them the dragon, right? Because they're closer to it, and it's got to be that run coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Both teams are thinking the same thing here, though. They've sent the globals up top here, and Chris brought his own ward. Reggie doing the same thing here, so both of the split pushers still being wary and still having to ward for themselves and not venture too far past that river. You can see as soon as Reggie hit the halfway point, he roams back down to join the rest of his team in mid.
And as soon as Xpecial himself, you can see, just got 400 gold in his favor. He goes up back and buys himself an Oracle as well. So coming out, both of these supports know what vision can cost them at this time in the game. I wouldn't say this far into the game. It's mid-game, but this is when everybody's ramping up with the core items. This is when that next fight of deleting someone's bounty or building that bounty happens.
And the next fight should be at this Dragon. Velocity have Stand United available, so they would definitely love to contest this one if they had vision and knew that TSM just burned it down.
Oh no, Echo's going to try to run in. Trying to save himself. Loses one tail. The second one stays on. And it looks like he's going to be able to get out. So that's TSM's first dragon coming in. Oh, misses the wall. That gigantic log. And it looks like he's going to continue to go in. Flashes over for the Shen ulti. Spirit Fire somewhat zones the fight, but nobody gets the real pressure on them. Wild Turtle still has it. He gets the Wild Growth and he's alive. Requiem only doing a bit of damage. The Ignite able to take down NK Inc. from the hands of Dyrus. Oddone on the outside, but he's very low. Just trying to get that alt damage inside. Dyrus going around with Coral the Meek, but he goes down in the end. Maple Street hits him with the Expunge.
And he's not done chasing here. You get speed bonus from that invisibility too.
He wants that Oracle right there in front of him. He throws down the flash. The slow is there. Can't see through the bush. There's no vision. Xpecial forcing the flash, and he actually clicks. Hits the ward as it comes around and stops him.
Again, Dragon going to TSM here, but Velocity picking up an extra kill. The only reason that they didn't get another one is because NK Inc. not strong enough. Just him and Chris diving onto Wild Turtle, not able to finish him off through that barrier. Even though NK Inc. did already hit 11 and he evolved his Taste Their Fear, so he did get the extra execute damage, but wasn't quite enough with that extra shield.
TSM ramping up now. Dyrus with that Sunfire cape coming in. That split push now going to be more effective when he chooses to do so. Right now he's in mid lane. And may they just be guarding that. Right now, they've only lost that top turret, and that's going to be the pressure, as we said, for Baron later if anybody needs to run away. So they're guarding that bottom, they're guarding that mid, knowing that Dragon's going to be better for them. They need it over and over.
And they've again sent both of their globals top, even though they were just used in that last team fight. They're going to stay up in these lanes and continue to push it halfway and then leave your lane. Reggie's going to not venture any deeper into this Velocity jungle because he not only does not have his Requiem, but he's very squishy too, so he could easily get bursted down there by that Kha'Zix.
It's just so much safer to easily triple split push like they are when that mid turret's down. All of Velocity is saying, quick, get to mid, we want to push down mid, ours is gone. But TSM's always there to answer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hesitation here too from Velocity. They're not collapsing immediately on the mid turret, and TSM do get to force the reaction here because there's no standing item from Shen. He has to come down whenever they're faced with the possibility of that team fight.
Right, it's when TSM realizes that, hey, we have them in the 4v, and now the 3v as, again, stretched thin. Velocity tries to clear the lanes at least past River. That's kind of been a tough thing for them, but TSM is doing a great job. It's not Velocity's fault.
And Velocity, they're taking every opportunity to grab a few extra minions on that NK Inc. because they desperately want him to become a threat. And coming out of the jungle, he's going to have a little bit lower money than usual, but we've seen them feed a lot of this lane farm to him as well.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the difference here between him and the odd one on Nasus.
Yeah, 126 to 78 in that farm, Kobe, you're just talking about. Almost the items that they need. Chris looks like he could be baiting this one out as you see his team start to roam towards that top lane. The Aegis almost coming out for Odd One, but that's already built onto Chris. And once that Bulwark is up, they only have the AP coming in really of Reginald and then Odd One once he can walk himself into the fight. And there's a lot of kiting that these guys can do.
Yeah, it's interesting differential in items there that's been brought about by basically the reversal of roles where top laner for Velocity is building the team-oriented defensive items because they want their damage potential to come from their jungler, which is NK Inc. Meanwhile, Odd One just finishing up his Aegis of the Legion. So they are able to answer. Both teams are going to be wrapped in that protective aura.
Recurve bow coming into the hands of Maple Street as he locks down a Bloodthirster first. We got an Infinity Edge on the other side, and there you go. Coming in with that Divine build. It picks it up just after we talked about that Recurve.
It's interesting how, you know, the game has sort of stalled out a little bit because each team are looking for that free farm. Reginald always looking to carry on that Karthus, and he is taking that solo lane free farm there for TSM. While Velocity, on the other hand, need NK Inc. to be the assassination resetting champion that Kha'Zix is so that he can take out those threats early in the game.
That Bulwark is finally finished, but we have to consider Velocity has not seen what kind of power Reginald can bring to the fight in at least 5-6 minutes. He's got that Archangel stacking up. The Rod is now stacked up. That's going to soon be a Seraph's. He is quite close to it as we look at it. Actually, he's not quite close to it. I'm a liar. He's 330 of 750. But still, that power he's bringing in hasn't been seen by Velocity. So we'll have to see how they react instantly to this next fight of Area of Effect. You're getting split up.
And I do like that, you know, adaptation by Reggie because he realized that this is a farming game here. we're stalling out a little bit and just looking for those high-impact team fights. He's built accordingly with both of his items as the ramping up items that take time to power up. And he is just fine with stalling this one out because he's only going to get stronger as the time goes on. And he gets more free lane farm up against this Shen.
And Kobe, you're even more right about Kha'Zix wanting to be that aggressor. The red pot 22 minutes in, spending 350 gold on the chance of a next fight going well for these guys.
Well, they're basically at the point where Velocity are looking for the crucial team fight that will turn the game for them, because not only do they have the 2 items completed for Kha'Zix here with the Last Whisper and Merman, but the Twitch has finished his Sword of the Divine. So he is looking for those 3 guaranteed crits on as many members of TSM as possible, and then that opening up the opportunity for NK Inc. to go in and execute off and get his resets.
And that NK Inc. Muramana is going to be finished a lot sooner than the Seraph's Embrace. It's only 150 off right now, and after that, still near 150 off, but it's close. TSM grabbing the Dragon as Velocity on the backside.
Velocity just too late once again because of the lack of vision they've been able to keep up around the Dragon. Another global objective just given away. While Velocity is actually at a good team fighting threshold right now, they would love to engage and make use of those 2 items that they just finished.
Look, trying to go in. The minion clears so well here. TSM Divers going in. They find Maple Street. Chris actually misses his taunt. No refund there. That's going to hurt Shen's engagement for this fight. You can see Chris on the outside. Only forced to stand united in, but he's going to have to walk with his team here. Taunt is still down. You can see that the crowd control isn't there, and Velocity is just being taken out. Special on the backside trying to help out with that one, but it's Wild Turtle able to get the last shot in. Going after Chris. The Peacemaker to come out. No! Hits him. The Requiem to come down. Not going to be enough. Is the follow-up there? He misses the flash, but he hits the Peacemaker. One and the other. Bittersweet.
Very nice shot there from Wild Turtle, but that is what happens when this Velocity team starts their team fight out on the defensive. They had Maple Street running away in his invisibility as that one started out, so he didn't get off his initial 3 crits that they want to start that fight, which meant that NK Inc. was jumping in on almost a full health Reggie, and he didn't get any kill. There was no reset. He's just a sitting duck there. Kha'Zix went down even with that Shen ulti on top.
Maple Street doing what he can, saying, get away from my turret. No respect given by TSM as they just take it down and head out with the gold. 38,000 to 33,000. We finally get a little bit of a discrepancy in the gold there. Team Solo Mid has a great fight, pushes down mid to an open inhibitor.
And what TSM needs to do after that play is leave a ward by Baron so that the desperate Baron from Velocity is not an option. They have this one that sort of sees a few people of Velocity heading towards Baron, so they've got an idea right now, and they need to go over and contest this.
Kobe, you may want to fax them what you just said. They are going to check it, but they don't have the ward there. But it looks like Velocity even knows this one. They are not going to be caught out, and they say this was risky, and we have to be very careful.
They did not want to actually have a fight at that Baron. They were banking on TSM having at least 2 or 3 members recalled at this point. But they did a good job leaving that one stray ward there that saw out the Velocity attempt at the desperate Baron. And now that TSM have defended that early Baron attempt, they have an exposed inhibitor that they can go back to and force another fight when Reginald's Requiem's back up.
And you can see TSM's calls, what they consider. Reginald saying, we have a few, let's make sure this is cleared first. You go back, I'll soak up the wave, and then we'll all go back. Everybody on TSM was just backing, and they're considering, we don't even want to lose that mid turret right now.
Exactly. We just had TSM win a giant team fight and get a really strong objective, but we don't see them going aggressive right now because they're timing their aggression with the long cooldown of that Requiem. So they want the next team fight at that exposed inhibitor, but they want to be at their full team fighting potential, which relies so much on that extra Karthus damage.
It looks like it's going to be at great capacity as well. We're going to see Expecial with all the summoners up to maybe the Ignite being up of Evaniscus there. So we'll see the fight in their favor for defensive and continuous fighting in the favor of Team Solo Mid. Right now, NK Inc. still with that red pot in his inventory, building up to the Sunfire Cape. After the Bulwark was Chris, so you can see how he prioritized that team defense over the split push they're trying to get out of these global lanes.
If you're at Velocity right now, too, you are looking to snag someone out of position because your Stand United is available, and if they do get, you need 2 damage dealers on the same target, then a reset for NK Inc. would mean a completely different team fight from the last one. If he can actually hop back out after getting the kill, then Velocity have the time to reset and get, oh, there we go, the charm onto Dyrus.
Dyrus getting out of that one. They pull in Reginald. Is that what they want? Kha'Zix to assassinate running the outside. He jumps onto him, but the jump is wasted because he was already dead, so NK Inc. forced out to use his ultimate. Requiem come down and dropping Echo. That's 2 down for Velocity. Reginald no longer to help in the fight, but it looks like TSM's able to manhandle the base on this one. NK Inc. trying to get back in for some more damage. The unfortunate jump in the beginning really hurt them.
Yeah, they were able to assassinate one target. Great job, you know, using that Sword of the Divine there, but it was Reginald who still gets off damage. There was that Requiem we just talked about, and now they're on the Nexus turrets.
This is going to be Team Solo Mid, the first Nexus turret, and the second one in their favor as well. Nobody there to rebuttal this one. They take down the Nexus and go undefeated still against Velocity.
So congratulations to TSM going back to their roots, using those globals and the Bash Brothers to take home a win.
Really strong play. It's hard to focus out Reginald. He's got the champion pool. There's things he likes to play. They still had Rise. They still had Kennen if they wanted to bring it out. They also didn't focus Reginald with their gameplay as they said they wanted to. Maybe it could have just been a mind game as well.
So whenever you do have this sort of different game up in the 2v1 lanes where the junglers are spending their entire time up there, you lose all the unpredictability in the lanes, and you don't have that extra factor that allows you to pressure a single person, because you can see the other person and he's far away from Reginald. So Reginald didn't have anything to worry about.
Back to the basics, literally, for these guys. Season 2 play, even more so, like you said, having almost all of their turrets up by the end of the game was really TSM-esque. They've always had really good lane movement. When they want to keep their turrets up, they are kept up. When they want to get the dragons and not let NK Inc. steal them, they figured out how to do that too. So it was adapting to basic wheelhouse strats that TSM did all Season 2, and they did a little bit there.
That was a much more calmly executed game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just relying on the small advantages and waiting for the cooldowns. Drew it out a little bit, but that is how you end a game of League of Legends by the textbook.
And coming out for the play, Maple Street and those guys, they had the right idea coming in for all the plays. I think a little bit, again, in the 2v1s, there was just too much farming for one of the junglers, or not enough pressure in one of those jungle lanes, and it kind of hurt NK Inc. in the end that he wasn't able to charge up his Merman as much as he wanted to, or charge up his Mana Rune at the time as much as he wanted to, and get into the fight as the assassin, which unfortunately didn't work.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people in this current state of League of Legends aren't running as many carry junglers, because it takes them a lot longer to get farmed up, and you have to feed them the side lane farms.
And trying to do what they can. Velocity always bringing out different things, and we love to see it. So we've got to take a short break, but when we return, it's TSM's Reginald joining us to talk about shutting down Velocity. Then it's our final match of the day between first place Cloud9 and second place Vulcan. The North American League Championship Series. We'll be right back.